Hello and welcome back to An Old Man Watches, where today I will be talking about the 1980 space opera Flash Gordon. Professional footballer Flash Gordon meets travel agent Dale Arden when the two are the only passengers on a small plane. After the pair flirt with all the subtlety of the superheated hail that suddenly starts pouring from the sky, they will find themselves transported on an interplanetary journey to the realm of Mongo, where the tyrannical Emperor Ming, the Merciless, rules with an iron fist. They'll encounter hawkmen and lizard folk, cyborgs and sexy space princesses, poisonous wood beasts and electrified clouds. They will, in other words, show us all a jolly good time. But perhaps I should rewind a little bit. This film begins with a wave of bizarre and devastating natural disasters sweeping over the Earth. Tornadoes, earthquakes, tsunami, hot hail. Scientists are baffled, but almost all of them agree there is no cause for alarm. The only exception is a wild-eyed eccentric named Hans Zarkov, formerly of NASA, but released you his wild theories about an extraterrestrial threat. These theories are not taken seriously, of course, but Zarkov is right on the money. Unfortunately, his plan to address the problem is unlikely to help. He has secretly constructed a spaceship intending to fly out and meet the aliens and appeal to their better natures. The flaw in his plan is that they don't have better natures. Earth is in fact the latest plaything of the malevolent and very aptly named Space Emperor, Ming the Merciless, who is tormenting our planet for his own amusement. Fortunately for Zarkov, and for that matter, the entire human race, his mission to space unexpectedly gains two last-minute, albeit reluctant recruits: the brave and brawny Flash Gordon and the feisty and beautiful Dale Arden. With Zarkov's brain, Flash's physical prowess, and Dale's moxie, they might just have all the skills needed to destabilise Ming's autocratic rule and incite his oppressed subjects against him. If, that is, they can get those oppressed subjects to stop fighting each other long enough to challenge the Emperor. So producer Dino De Laurentiis acquired the rights to make a film based on the Flash Gordon comic strip in the mid-1960s, but was never able to get the project up and running. Ironically, it was probably his refusal to sell the rights to George Lucas a decade later, leading Lucas to go off and create his own space opera. You may have heard of something called Star Wars or something like that. It was that probably provided the impetus for this film to finally be made. I imagine Universal Pictures had visions of a Star Wars-style box office bonanza when they agreed to distribute this movie. The film would prove to have a somewhat troubled production. Due to a dispute with De Laurentiis, leading man Sam J. Jones left the film prior to the end of principal photography, resulting in much of his dialogue being dubbed in by actor Peter Marinka. That alone would probably not have been enough to prevent sequels if the film had been a Star Wars-style success, but that didn't come to pass. Though largely popular with contemporary critics, the film achieved only modest commercial outcomes, recouping roughly double its production budget thanks to its popularity in the UK and Italy. The weak US box office, coupled with the cost of the film and the mockery of the performance of Sam J. Jones, he was nominated for the Golden Raspberry for Worst Actor, combined to create the impression at the time that the film was something of a flop. It would go on to become a cult favourite, however, with directors Edgar Wright and Taika Waititi among its many avowed fans. Also amongst many avowed fans, me. I like Star Wars and I've seen it numerous times, but if I had to choose between watching Flash Gordon or any Star Wars movie, then 9 times out of 10, Flash would get the nod. So let's talk about why I love it so much. So, Dino De Laurentiis had a very specific vision of the kind of movie he wanted Flash Gordon to be. A vision that caused him, in fact, to split with both Nicholas Roeg and Sergio Leone as possible directors. Both those men wanted to do something in keeping with the tone of the original comic strip, which was oriented towards dramatic adventure. De Laurentiis, however, wanted to do more exaggerated, over-the-top comedic interpretation. The producer ultimately got his way, with the final script being deliberately arch and melodramatic. Everyone and everything is turned up to 11 in a grandiose, baroque, and almost pantomimish kind of space fantasy rock opera that's as overblown as its infamously gaudy and expensive costumes. And look, that's not going to be to everybody's tastes, but personally, I love this film's blithe disregard for restraint. This is not a film where it is enough that Flash and his rival/ally, Prince Barin, be made to duel to the death. It's the kind of film where that duel must take place on a tilting platform covered in spikes, suspended above an effectively bottomless void, while a crowd of jeering hawkmen look on. It's the kind of movie where even Brian Blessed at his most bombastic does not seem out of place. Though, let's be clear, he's absolutely one of the most memorable things about the movie. And if you don't shout "Dive!" along with him every time he sends his Hawkmen into battle, you are made of sterner stuff than me. Flash Gordon predates the culture of 80s excess, but it's definitely riding the opulent wave of 70s glam right into that zone. And I adore every overblown, overdone minute of it. I think it's worth acknowledging here that the original 1930s Flash Gordon comic strip has a pretty broad streak of yellow peril racism running through it. Ming is a problematic Orientalist stereotype, wicked and corrupt, and the antithesis of Gordon's wholesome, honourable Anglo-Saxon physicality. This movie inherits a lot of the trappings of those attitudes, even if it casts a Swedish actor, Max von Sydow, as Ming, and an Italian woman to play his daughter. And in 2020, the British Board of Film Classification went so far as to add a warning about discriminatory stereotypes to this film. And I think there's some justification to that. Von Sydow may be Swedish-born, but his visual presentation here definitely harks back to the yellow peril heritage of the comic strip. But while the character is definitely born from and remains entangled with some very problematic attitudes, I nonetheless enjoy the vision of Ming here very much because he so thoroughly lives up to his appellation of the merciless. Not for him are there any kind of half measures or restraint. Not that restraint is a thing the film is big on to begin with. But having identified a problem, and he immediately identifies that Flash Gordon is a capital P problem, Ming sets out to neutralise it with implacable ruthlessness. He orders Gordon's execution within minutes of meeting the man for the very first time. The only thing that undermines Ming's effectiveness are the foibles of his minions and his own base impulses for cruelty and lust. He's cartoonishly evil, but he's plausibly effective as well, which makes him a memorable and enjoyable villain in my eyes. Now, it's not possible for me to talk about Flash Gordon without mentioning the soundtrack. The film was one of the earliest high-budget feature films to use a score primarily composed and performed by a rock band, in this case, mighty 70s rocker Queen, who are in their full semi-orchestral pomp here. Or as one of my friends once put it, you don't so much watch this movie as rock out to it. And of course you rock out to it, because the soundtrack is powered with blistering Brian May guitar solos and snatches of the film's most quotable moments. Rarely have I seen the music so integrated into the narrative of the film. At times it's like someone just put together the world's longest and most expensive Queen rock video, and I'm perfectly okay with that. Flash Gordon is a gaudy, over-the-top fantasy rock opera, space fantasy rock opera, and I love every bombastic, outrageous, oversaturated moment of excess. It's a film that leaves me smiling every time, and there's a better than 50-50 chance that simply recording this video talking about it will make me want to watch the movie again. Next time, well, we're still in 1980, but we're discussing a film that's far less clear on what kind of movie it wants to be. Contamination. Is it a transparent alien knockoff or an espionage movie? If the filmmakers can't decide, what hope is there for the rest of us? But that's next time. Until then, thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you've seen today's movie, tell me why you loved it, because you'd better have loved it. It's amazing. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.